Well, my name is Mary Bide, and I'm Sub-Dean at Wells Cathedral here in Somerset. And I've been here for a few years in that role. And I have been charged with trying to make this place more environmentally friendly as we work towards carbon zero. I ended up having that role because it is something that I care passionately about. We have been given this beautiful, wonderful planet, and the Christian faith teaches us that we have to love God and we have to care for each other. And at the moment, what we're doing is trashing the gift that we've been given, and that impacts on so many people's lives and upon the lives of all the other life forms with which we share this planet. And unfortunately, it affects those who are poorest the most. In Somerset, we are incredibly lucky. We have a wonderfully diverse environment with the levels and the Mendips and Quantocks and so forth. But even here, you can go out and you see how the environment is being changed by climate change. And if we don't do something now, then we are leaving a legacy for our children and our grandchildren, which is awful, frankly. So we have to do something. And the challenge is to instill in people a sense of urgency without them feeling that it's a hopeless task, that there are things that we can do. So when we started here, the first thing we did was to sign up with an organisation called Eco Church, which is an absolutely brilliant thing. It lists 5 categories, and it has a questionnaire relating to each category. One is to do with worship and teaching, one's to do with building, one's to do with land, one is engagement with the community, and I've forgotten for the moment what the other one is, but it will come back to me in a minute. And on each of those things there is a survey, and that was the where we started, with a survey. Where are we now? How much energy are we using? How much are we recycling? How much are we teaching people about the environment? What are we doing with the land that we own? Are we using it properly? The survey took quite a long time because it goes into extreme detail. Everything down to the sorts of coffee cups we use at coffee time, to where we buy our fuel and how much we're using. Now, trying to get to net carbon zero in a grade 1 listed building is never going to be easy. But once we did the survey, at least we knew where we were at, and then we could start thinking, well, what can we change? What can we improve? And how can we do it? So we started with the quick fixes, the easy things, and looking at our investments. We changed our energy supplier. We looked at insulation. You can't double glaze some of these wonderful windows. But the cathedral isn't the only building owned by the cathedral. So there are the offices, there's meeting halls, there's housing and so forth. So all of that as well has to be looked at. And then it's a case of monitoring to see where we're getting to and how well we are doing. So, for example, with the grounds here, Somerset Wildlife Trust has teamed with churches in the diocese on a scheme called Wilder Churches. And the botany group come out and survey the land and tell you what wild plants you already have there. So then you can look at saying, well, how can we improve this and make sure that they don't get spoiled? We discovered that in the palm garden, which perhaps we'll go into in a minute, there were loads of harebells and ladies' bedstraw, all sorts of chalkland plants, limestone plants. They were never allowed to flower because the grass was mown all the time. So this year we left some strips to see what happened if we left them unmown. And it was amazing. They all flowered. It was beautiful. So providing a home for insects and, butterflies or whatever. So that's a small thing that we were able to do. The bigger things have been looking at fuel, heating, lighting. The lighting here in this part has been changed, I think, to LED, and we're working on changing to LED in the rest of the cathedral. Not everything yet is in all the offices, but that's on the agenda. That's part of the plan to change anything. But some of the infrastructure and wiring has to be changed in order to do that. So it's not cheap. In fact, it's hugely expensive, and we depend upon getting grants to be able to do that sort of work. The plan is to look to see what alternative forms of energy might be possible here. You can't do many of the things. The water table is too high. If we lifted up the floor of the cathedral to do underfloor heating or something, I'm not quite sure what the foundations are here, so some things are just not possible. But we are looking to see what can be done. There may be places where we can put in some solar panels where they're not too visible and don't spoil the aesthetics of the building. There may be places, and we haven't investigated this, so this is real pie in the sky stuff, but with all the water that there is around here, maybe we can use some of the water power. I don't know. So part of the cathedral's role also is in teaching, not only the members of the congregation, but the wider forum of people in Wells. It has a very strong sense of community. So yes, I think is the answer, that there are things that we can share and work together on. Yeah. So what we want to do is to get a strategic plan for the next 5 to 10 years to create priorities of what we can do and what we can work on. All the small differences that we can make, and if we all make those small differences, how much we might be able to achieve.